Welcome back to the Daily Nugget, Daily Property Insights. One topic, 20 minutes or less. Myself, Lawrence Lotze, and joined by a property renovation specialist, Tom Faye. And Tom, the question to you at the moment is, everything at the moment is really, people really hesitant. The market's turning. It was on fire last year in 2021 and 2022 first quarter. It's coming down quite a bit at the moment. And there seems a bit of a hesitancy. I mean, there was an article last week on the Herald that one of the biggest property investors in New Zealand had to drop $100,000 on his property because he was unable to sell. And now everyone seems to be a bit spooked at the moment, whether they should buy or wait, or the prices are going to drop. I'd love to know your thoughts as you are very active in the market at the moment.
Yeah. Hey, look, this is a big topic. It's very important. We can't gloss over this. And so my answer to people on this one always has been and will continue to be to look at the macro. Let's look at the big picture, what's actually happening around us. We can't have fuel prices keep going up. We can't have food, cheese, materials, everything else keeps going up, and then have property be left behind. It just doesn't make economic sense that the property market itself is going to tank much further than a few $1,000s. Now, yes, the guy might have been over asking for what he wanted, the top property investor, hey, we were all had that, sort of like, oh, yes, I'm going to sell and I'm going to get top dollar. I sold a property recently, only $20,000 over the registered valuation that I was given. And that was in January. Okay. And that was a private sale. Now, why is that important? The reason that is important is because I wasn't being greedy. Okay. You need to look at yourself and say, hey, look, can I go into the marketplace and still find an opportunity? Is that a good location? Is there demand? Links back to our location, chat conversation. Is there demand in that region? And hey, it might take longer, but everything sells. That's just the way real estate is. You speak to agents who've been in the game for 40 years. Okay. They will tell you hand on heart that everything will sell eventually. It's just got to have a price, exposure, and time in the market. So now what's going to happen is, rather than you listing a property and it's going to sell in a week or 2 weeks with multiple offers, that's not going to happen. We're going back to 2018, which is a normal marketplace. Okay. All right. A normal marketplace is, and I know you were doing deals in 2018. You might sit there for 30, 45 days before you get an unconditional contract. That is very normal. So a lot of people may have started in this, in the last 24 months, which was like a buy it, sell it, and it's gone. Okay. But now we need to sort of recheck ourselves and be ready to sit in the deal. Okay. Do a good job. And also remember, cutting back on your renovation. Don't go and overblow, because the people that overcapitalize on the upgrades are the ones who are like, oh, but I spent so much. Now, the second thing that we're going to go into is that while this is happening, sellers are becoming, conditioned by the new marketplace we're in, conditioned by the new environment. A guy might want $5 million for a block of flats, but hey, nobody can pay that. So he's going to have to drop his expectation by about $500,000 to get anybody on paper. Now, that expectation may have been completely false. There was nobody ever at that level, but he's now back down. So buyers, grab it while you can, negotiate hard, and just go and do the deal. That's my advice to people, because you're going to do well. We're not going to have a crash. I don't believe we're going to have a massive crash. You know what? Prove me wrong in 12 months. But people said this back at the start of COVID. Lawrence, you remember, start of COVID, there was all this doom and gloom. And if anything was ever going to crash, that was it, man. That was it. That was the time. We sort of teetered around. Okay, they changed the lending rules, and off we went again. Okay, and we kept going and kept going and kept going. So Lawrence, it's all good sailing from here. Stay positive, and don't let the doom and gloom sort of media sort of what is it, the messaging that they've got freak you out. Just go and negotiate hard.
I think the biggest thing at the moment is understanding that there's been a lot of policies brought in the last couple of months at the end of it. Triple CFA was one of those, something I covered off hard on the Daily Nugget before. And that's all drastically been changed at the moment by the government, realizing they've made a mistake. They've literally screwed up the whole market by implementing these systems. So that money will come back on the market. So people will be buying again. Prices will be going up again. But it's not that prices going down. One of the biggest things I think from the investor or the real simple person is not understanding what the media is actually telling us.
Yeah.
And what I mean by this is there'll be a report that there's a drop in prices over the last quarter. And what it means is that there's a drop in prices, depending on how they're toning it, that the last 3 months has grown less than it did 12 months ago.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean it went backwards.
No.
It just grew less.
It's the wording.
It's the wording, right? Or this quarter, the first quarter of 2020, has dropped below the previous quarter. Again, has it gone below the price, or has it just gone less than the previous quarter? So you see the meter going, oh, property prices dropped 5%. But it's like, well, has it dropped 5%, or is it just 5%? The growth is 5% less than it was last quarter. And the average price is still overall going on in the up or holding there. So that's a sort of big thing I think a lot of people need to look at into, depending on where you listening or watching in the media and the news you're taking in, is what does those numbers, what they're trying to actually tell you mean? And I 100% agree with you, Tom. We can't be sitting in this ridiculous inflation that we're seeing at the moment. Everything doing this, and then they're going to tell us on our properties, because then you're going to get this weird thing. And I don't think you're going to get this weird thing that it costs you more, your property's going down, and by this sort of up and down, literally you're losing twice as much as money. That just doesn't happen. The property market would implode on itself.
That's the point.
Exactly. And New Zealand, that's driven by property, would never can't afford it.
You can't afford it. And so that's the macroeconomic view. And so I sleep really well at night. I'm just like, hey, you know what? That next project, just, cut back your expenses. Rather than a 50K reno, do the important things and just do a 15. Go challenge yourself. Okay. So we were talking about this in another podcast that we did, a daily nugget that we did. Hey, is my budget 50 or 60? Oh, it keeps going up. How about you halve it and you only do the necessities? What does that look like? Oh, well, I can still make money. Go buy the deal.
Yep, totally, Tom. Totally agree with that, and love it. And thanks so much again, as always, Tom, for your insights. And to anyone else that's watching or listening at the moment that has any questions for myself or Tom, just drop it in the comment section below. But thanks for coming over to the Daily Nugget, Daily Property Insights, one topic, 20 minutes or less, and hope to see you tomorrow.